Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another episode of Blockchain and Beyond. As always, I'm your host Farzan. On today's episode, we'll be discussing a topic which is actually a request from one of my listeners, and they requested me to discuss tokenomics. So, tokenomics is a term which has been created by pairing up the two words token and economics, and the idea of it is to cover the elements of a cryptocurrency's creation, management, and even the removal of tokens from the network. And tokenomics do cover all activities about how the token is created. So the token could be created for an ICO and then be available to trade on cryptocurrency exchanges, or another instance is when a coin is used to incentivize network participants to secure the blockchain. This is something else which would be outlined in the tokenomics of this coin. And all cryptocurrencies will usually have a tokenomics paper. Either they will have their own standalone tokenomics paper, or they will include this as part of their overall white paper. And for me, making sure that the project has good tokenomics is kind of a foundation for me choosing if I believe a project will have value in the long run, as tokenomics is also one of the things which will end up driving price and also the value of the coin overall. So today I will be discussing the tokenomics models of three different cryptocurrencies. The first one being Bitcoin. This is because it has a simple tokenomics model. The second project that I'll be discussing is Algorand, because this is one I'm quite familiar with and they have segregated their funds quite well. And then the third project I'll be discussing is SafeMoon, only because it has an interesting tokenomics model which will maybe help people understand the different ways that tokenomics can be applied. So I will be starting off with Bitcoin. So Bitcoin has a very simple tokenomics model. It says in the white paper that it has a fixed supply of 21 million Bitcoin, and this is something which is verifiable within its code. And the way new Bitcoin is created is done through an algorithm. So it follows a certain pattern and is extremely predictable. And in the case of Bitcoin, new Bitcoins are created by adding valid blocks to the blockchain. And this is known as the block reward. So at Bitcoin's inception in 2009, the block reward was set to 50 Bitcoin, and whoever proposed the newly accepted block would receive 50 Bitcoin from the algorithm. Now, approximately every 4 years, there's an event known as the halvening, and this is also coded into Bitcoin's algorithm. When the halvening occurs, the block reward is reduced by half. In 2012, the block reward dropped to 25 Bitcoin from 50 Bitcoin, and in 2016 it dropped to 12.5 Bitcoin from 25 Bitcoin. And most recently, in 2020, it dropped to 6.25 Bitcoin. And this process will continue to occur approximately every 4 years until around the year 2140, where the block reward will drop to zero. And although it may seem a long time away, to put it into perspective, as of August 2021, approximately 19 million Bitcoins had been mined, meaning 90% of Bitcoin was already in circulation. So all of this combined, helps give people an idea of how new Bitcoins may come into existence and how quickly they will enter the market. So people may use it to help them gauge price or understand the impact of price via the new creation of Bitcoin. And one of the reasons I think Bitcoin's tokenomics model is so popular is because it is so simple. It has a simple algorithm that everyone can follow and is extremely predictable. There's no tokens being held aside by any governing body to use for other incentives or rewards. It is just all algorithmic, and there is no involvement of a central body or any third parties. It is just a product of the blockchain operating as it should. So the second project that I'll be discussing is Algorand, and anyone who knows me knows that I'm a big fan of Algorand and the entire ecosystem. So it was a no-brainer that I discuss this project. And I think it generally has a quite strong tokenomics model in the way that the tokens are distributed. But yeah, we'll get into that. So Algorand has a fixed supply of 10 billion Algorand, and 6.6 billion of which are already in circulation. And all 10 billion will be in circulation by the year 2030, so in about 8 years' time. When they first launched, they had retained 6.2 billion algo for the community incentives. So this includes staking rewards and rewards for the early backers who used relay nodes to support the blockchain, and this was only something available for limited partners. A further 1.25 billion algo was reserved for the ecosystem support. This includes innovation funds, research and development, and capital market innovations, which refers to how they identify new ways to interact with corporate bodies and also enterprises. Finally, 2.55 billion Algorand was reserved for Algorand and the Algorand Foundation, and also for the initial injections into the market. To put this into perspective, when Algorand first launched in 2019, approximately 1/4 of the entire Algorand supply was available on the open market. Since then, so in the past 3 years, this has now increased up to 6.6 billion, meaning 66% of the entire supply is now available on the open market. And over the next 8 years, the rest of the 34% of the supply will become available to the entire market. One thing I really like that Algorand have done, they have created a page called Long-Term Algo Dynamics, where they discuss all of their tokenomics in a lot of detail. And they have also included a graph which shows the distribution of Algorand coming into the ecosystem or available on the market over the years. So we can see from its inception in 2019 to the year 2030 how Algorand aims to push tokens into the open market. And this tokenomics model works for Algorand, as Algorand is a central body who are helping to promote and develop this ecosystem. It makes sense for them to withhold some of their own currency, which they can use to support the development or support the creation of new tools or products for use on the Algorand blockchain. So it's quite common to see a lot of new cryptocurrencies reserving some of their holdings for research and development purposes. And that covers Algorand, and so we're moving on to our third cryptocurrency. So the third one I'll be discussing is SafeMoon. So SafeMoon is a name that a lot of people have probably heard, especially in 2020 and 2021. It was very popular on social media. The name was being thrown around a lot, and yeah, in general, it was just quite a popular coin. So SafeMoon has a very different tokenomics model. So SafeMoon has an overall supply of 1 quadrillion tokens. So that is a 1 followed by, I think, 12 zeros. And at the launch of SafeMoon, the developers decided to burn approximately 22% of this supply, which leaves us overall with a 777 trillion token supply at the time of launch. And this is where the tokenomics model of SafeMoon varies from all of the other cryptocurrencies that we've discussed so far. So for every transaction, SafeMoon take a 10% tax, or there is a 10% charge on all transactions, which means if you were to buy $100 worth of SafeMoon, you would only receive $90 worth of SafeMoon. So this 10% is then distributed across different platforms. So 4% of this is used as a reflection. So this is a redistribution to all existing holders. So anytime someone buys or sells SafeMoon, a percentage of this will go to reward all current holders of the tokens. 3% is used for liquidity pool acquisition. What this means is that 3% of any trade which occurs will be used to add liquidity to one of the decentralized exchanges such as PancakeSwap, which will enable more users to purchase SafeMoon without facing extreme changes in the price. And then 2% of all trades are burnt. So if I was to buy $100 worth of SafeMoon, $2 worth of SafeMoon would be burnt and unrecoverable by anyone, effectively taking it out of the circulating supply. And then finally, 1% of all transactions is added to the SafeMoon ecosystem growth fund. So from my understanding, the growth fund is used by the developers of SafeMoon to help support development of new products or services which will support SafeMoon in the long run. So this could be if SafeMoon were looking to upgrade all of their contracts, they could use some of this growth fund to help pay for developers to do so. So the developers are basically being paid in the token of the project that they are helping. And the reason I find SafeMoon quite different is that it wants to incentivize people to hold the token. Because there is that 4% reflection, so 4% of all transactions is then reflected to all the holders. Anyone who holds SafeMoon will see their SafeMoon value tick up literally every couple of seconds. And then this project also disincentivizes holding by having such a large fee, in this case 10%, which overall I don't agree with, but it's an interesting new way to interact with the ecosystem. So that also covers SafeMoon. So bringing it all together, if we look at how many tokens each product has, so Bitcoin has 21 million circulating supply, Algorand has a 10 billion total supply, SafeMoon has a total supply of 777 trillion. The actual circulating supply for SafeMoon now is about 560 trillion. This is because some SafeMoon has already been burnt, so quite a large proportion of it has been burnt and therefore unrecoverable. And the reason I make this point is a lot of people get caught up when looking at the price of a token, but they don't account for supply. So people will see the price of Bitcoin and it will be in the tens of thousands of dollars and may say, oh, it's too expensive, I can't afford it. Whereas they may see SafeMoon, which is like fractions of thousandths of a penny or a cent, and will be willing to buy hundreds and thousands, if not millions of tokens for this project. But the price of a token, to me, is not a fair way to judge the value of the overall project. The best way to judge the value of the overall project is to look at its market cap. So the market cap is a representation of its current price, of the token's current price, multiplied by its circulating supply. So if we take the market cap of SafeMoon, which at the current moment is approximately $700 million, and compare this to the market cap, for example, of Bitcoin, whose market cap is $743 billion, we can see that the value of Bitcoin overall is 1,000 times more than that of SafeMoon. And we can use this as an indication to judge the overall value of a project. And with that, I think that covers everything that I wanted to. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. My voice is a bit weird today, so sorry if I sound a bit different than normal. But yeah, as always, if you have any questions, feel free to get in touch. I'll be happy to answer them. And yeah, until next time, goodbye.